Live, baby, in full effect.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, let's sit on here. We are so happy
All
to
right.
be.
I'm gonna share it real quick on Facebook. That way all of my followers can get the opportunity to see it. And yeah, and then we can go from there, honey.
Prince, why you go
No.
sideways?
I know.
You
I'm
going
looking like,
low.
wait a minute.
I had to take a break. I was like,
Can you not see
Right.
me?
baby, you stuck. You went
You went
sideways.
sideways.
But as long as we can hear you, we can receive you. We good, baby.
But
Okay.
you can hear me, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
you
Okay,
look
no,
good.
I'm going to the page so that I can share it to my page. That's why. So I may go black for a second because I'm on my cell phone.
No, you're not black. You're sideways.
What do you mean?
I'm riding
Your whole
sideways.
body is turned sideways.
Yeah, your picture went from horizontal to longitude. Longitude, yeah.
How y'all doing out there in them streets? I see we got
I
one.
know that's right. Hey, everybody watching.
Well, I did have quite a few people that.
Let's see.
Okay, am I back?
He's back.
Fabulous,
Hey.
fabulous, fabulous. So y'all know I am so excited, man. I'm happy to be here.
Hey.
I really
Me
am.
too.
I'm really happy to be here. So we got Regina that's actually going to be taking care of the odds and ends in the background, making sure that everything runs smoothly. So first and foremost, thank you, Regina. Yes, darling. Yes, because
Hey.
I'm not techno savvy at all. At all. And it would not be successful if we did not have some last minute stuff happen because we were supposed to start at 9. But I'm like, y'all do realize I don't know how to work StreamYard, right? Anywho. But yeah, so hello everybody that's out there. So first and foremost, thank you
Yes.
guys so much for joining us. This is our very first season, very first episode of the chat. So we're excited to
Hey.
be here with you guys on today. So first off, thank you guys.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what the chat is. Why do you see these other three beautiful faces that are sitting here? And then we're just going to go ahead and just jump right into it, guys. This is going to be 45 minutes of just absolute amazing energy, conversation, and things like that. So a few years ago, I actually had this idea of starting a TV show. I wanted my own channel. I wanted it to be called The Chat. I wanted people to be able to come in, have conversations that were meaningful, but also that were respectful because everyone has a viewpoint. And right now, everyone runs on their own algorithm. My algorithm does not look the same as yours. If we open up our social media right now, it's going to look completely different from what mine is versus what yours is. And when someone comes and they challenge the algorithm that you're on, most times people get defensive, they get disrespectful. And I said, it just really doesn't make sense to do that. I just really want people to be able to have a conversation without feeling as though that they're being judged or without feeling as if their voices are not being heard. So what you're going to hear every week is a 45-minute conversation with myself and these beautiful people that are the co-hosts of this show. And one of the things that you're going to realize is we really don't care if you agree, because most times we do not agree with each other. However, it is respectful and we can disagree without being disrespectful. I am not trying to get any of them to agree with me. I am not trying to get them to be on my side. The only thing that I want to do is to be able to provide a different perspective so that other individuals can see that perspective. That's it. There's a book that I read by Sean Achor. It talks about happiness and he talks about perspective. It was called The Happiness Advantage. And then he wrote another one called Before Happiness. And one of the things that he says is the more perspectives that you gain, the more successful you will become. So in order for us to be successful, we have to gain different perspectives. So that is what we're going to be talking about on tonight. Different perspectives, y'all. Different perspectives.
Hey.
And I know that y'all already know one of the topics that we're going to talk about, but we're not going to go there. We're going to just introduce ourselves first, and then we're going to jump right into it. So we're going to start with the stepologist herself. We're going to let Regina introduce herself, tell her story, just a little bit about her, and we're going to jump into it after we all introduce ourselves and tell you what we're going to be bringing to the table.
So it is awesome to be able to sit here in your presence. I honor you because you could have been many other places. But on tonight, you chose to be right here in this space with us. I am the Stepologist, Regina Platt. And the reason I call myself that is because regardless of the adversity, regardless of the storms, regardless of the trials, what I knew is how to take the next step. Now let's bring that back because we've been stepping our entire life. But in this Black body, right, I possess the Black body in a system that has been set by a white body supremacy system. And so what I know is who I am. And with knowing who I am, I can carry the essence of me as I flow into thee. So it is an honor to be here, and we will have an awesome conversation. And if you know me, baby, you know I make it do what it do now. Come on, y'all. Let me pass the mic to Ebony. Hey, baby.
Hey, well, I am Ebony Saunders. I am a huge financial literacy advocate. So many times, us, people that look like us, are not versed on what to do with their finances. So I'm very much a financial literacy advocate. And most recently, I happen to be the assistant to Dr. Michael Freeland. We'll get into that on a different episode, but I'm here because these are my friends and we are here to bring you all a different perspective. TC!
Woo!
Well, my name is TC, and I am a passionate individual who has learned how to take one's individuality and instead of it being weaponized as society would have it be, take it and celebrate it in a way that shines so bright it provides an opportunity to inspire those around me to give themselves a chance so that they don't question themselves, don't hide themselves, don't forsake themselves, but bet on themselves and give themselves a chance to personify that internal truth. And if that truth is unknown, as it is for most people who waste their time and life wearing a mask for social etiquette or equity, I hope to then bring them an opportunity to discover through a introspective journey, and in that finding the authenticity that allows them to be their own beacon of hope and light.
You better tell it.
Mic drop.
And ladies, I'm not one to gossip, but I heard he's single, y'all. But I ain't one to gossip.
You better stop it.
All the single ladies.
Yes.
You know, I'm not one to gossip though, but that's just what I heard. That's what I heard. But no. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's just go ahead and let's just jump right into it. So we told you a little bit about who we are. And I know that you guys are all here for the conversation, okay? So the first part of the conversation that we're going to talk about, y'all, and I'm pretty sure you guys already know because it was the slap seen around the world by millions of people, okay? I'm going to weigh in last, but I wanted to know, so what do y'all think about this slap that happened with Chris Rock and Will Smith? Was he wrong? Should he have done it? Oh, like, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Give it to me. Give it to me raw.
It was shocking, to say the least. It was a little shocking. So many people, including myself, at first thought it was scripted. So we couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. Like, okay, Chris Rock's a comedian, Will's the funny guy. So initially, it was like, oh, okay, if anything's going to happen and go wrong, it's going to happen at the Oscars. So initially, I thought it was scripted. Clearly, once Will took his seat, we realized it was not, a skit. This is not what we got going on here. So it was shocking. That was my initial thought. Regina, what was your initial thought?
Oh, why you had to pass it to me? Man. I initially, everyone that knows I go into that piece where I'm digesting, like, come on, we got kings standing on the stage, representing a kingdom. And as they're standing on stage representing the kingdom, it was like, did he just burst? Did all that he's been carrying, because we've been watching him for years, decades, Carrie. We've been watching him be masked, as Shauna and as TC would say. We have watched him walk through this journey with this mask on and having to hold himself together. We watched over the last couple years where information has just been flowing out about his marriage situation, about his kids, his personal stuff. You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, did we just watch him explode in the presence of the world?
Yeah.
In all places, the explosion so healing could begin happen. It happened in front of the world. Now, where do we go from here?
Wait, you said healing happened in front of the world?
The explosion happened so that healing could begin in front of the world.
That's important right there.
Because sometimes the mask keeps us from healing and we're stuck. And we can hide and say, I'm okay. But when it happens in the presence of everyone, I can't say I'm okay. I have to take the steps to do the work to heal so I can be okay.
Okay.
And I'm gonna pass this. I'm gonna pass this because you know I can go on and on and on. So TC, let it go.
I personally, being a anti-mainstream person, didn't really know what to think outside of what my studies of, from the manosphere have taught me. Is this was a outburst of the most simplest example we could have seen on live television. The most beta example of when the female drives the expectations of the relationship, what that looks like. This would have been a good example, an extreme example of white knighting, where he rises up to be the hero. I'll protect you. I'll protect your dignity, and takes a very awkward position in forcing a masculine frame. It was really sad. It really, I'm not gonna say my heart broke for him, but I felt bad because that action is on the internet forever. As Jim Carrey said, you can't reverse that. No matter where his heart was, no matter if he was in a good headspace or if he was off his meds, whatever the excuse is that you throw at it, you can't take this back. And everything that he's built up, I remember seeing motivational content from him back in 2018, 19, him jumping off an airplane and all that stuff. And, it's gone. It doesn't matter, right? Because now he has this to deal with. So,
Interesting. So my initial thought, I'm sorry, TC, were you done?
Sorry.
Okay.
Take away.
Okay. No, you're fine, sweetheart. My initial thought is both of them was dead ass wrong. I'm sorry. There's just no other way for me to put it. No. Like, I get the whole Will was protecting his wife. I understand that. But my initial thought was, I remember when I was in college and I had an officer pull their gun on me after a situation that happened, which is one of the reasons I don't shop at Walmart, but that's another story. But anyway, so I was speaking to, I started calling her my aunt, and she broke the situation down to me. She said, let me explain something to you. I understand what they did was wrong, but there is cause and effect to everything that you look at. If you didn't do this, then the response would not have been this. So when I look at, because I've noticed that a lot of people are saying Will is wrong, but no one is actually saying that Chris Rock is wrong for what he did and the way that he said it. And I understand he is a jokester, he's a comedian and all of this stuff. However, people are using that as a pass for him and saying that, oh, it's okay because he's a comedian. Oh, well, this is what he does. He's a comedian. Technically, Will is a comedian as well. I mean, technically, Will is a comedian as well. So I hear what people are saying, but for me, putting your hands on someone is never the answer. However, you literally just sat here and spewed venom about his wife. You have no idea what his wife may be actually going through. And if you actually research this G.I. Jane girl, you will find out that she actually cheated on her spouse.
I knew it. Yeah,
And
baby.
so I think the joke was a little deeper because most people didn't even pay attention to that. So,
exactly.
And then on top of that, people are saying, oh, she has alopecia. Then now some people are saying, oh, well, a dermatologist said that she doesn't have it. I don't give a damn about all that. But at the ending of the day, you said this caused you to get slapped. Was he wrong for saying what he did? Yes. Was Will wrong for walking up on stage and slapping him? Yes, because I do believe that there was a better way that Will could have actually handled that. I think if Will would have actually walked on stage and said, keep my wife's name out of your mouth, and turned around and walked back and sat down, I think that would have actually, been great. However, nobody ain't even talking about the fact that Jada didn't even console him. There were other men that had to console this man. Child,
but to be honest, that is what needed. That is what needed to happen.
What happened?
That is what needed to happen.
But
a queen did not need to diffuse that. Other kings needed to diffuse that.
So you don't think that, okay, so because apparently he was defending her, right? So you don't think because he's defending her that the better choice for her would have been, if she saw him getting up, would have been to reach over and grab him like, this isn't the time, this isn't the place, baby, don't do that.
Well, I'm going to
I
say
don't think she was aware.
Okay.
I don't feel that she even knew he was going to do that. Go ahead, Regina.
I have to dig in on this part because I've been that woman, right? That didn't need, I need you to love me. I need you to be there for me. Because her facial reaction really could have just been the shock in the moment. She never verbally expressed to him that she needed him to protect her.
That's true.
And I've been in that point where a male who believed that I needed him to jump on his horse and come save me jumped into action without ever confirming with me that's what I needed from him. And it would have been more for me to have had him with me, just as well as we said, for her to console him. It would have been better for him to look at me and acknowledge, baby, you hurting. But instead, his pride projected him into action, and he didn't console her. And then not only that, with him not consoling her at that point, what happens is the world begins to release and belittle her even deeper. Outside of the alopecia piece, they begin to belittle her and talk about what she's been doing and how she keeps continuously running over him and just making comments. So my thing is like, at that point, you had someone whose EQ was out of balance with the IQ and the AQs, right? So what we think when we talk about your intellect, right? Our intellect, right? If we ain't got no wisdom, right? We ain't got no knowledge. We're going to do what we always done. We're going to do that petty stuff, right? But he's a king, right? He's a mentor. He's a beacon within the community. And so he's acquired skills that could have been used, but because the EQ was out of balance, he found himself taking action, because we know that whatever we're feeling, right, whatever we're thinking, whatever we're feeling is going to spark us into action. So his actions led him into doing something that the man in him, right, the ruler in him, the creator in him would have never done. And it didn't all stem out of Jada, right? As conversations began, he's been on a healing journey, and it stemmed out of hurt and pain that was caused to his mother, words that had been spoken to him for years, over his children for years. And here we go. And this is me, right? Because I'm speaking what I see as I sit back and observe, and he explodes. And we all have been at that point in time. That's the thing that we have to think of. Maybe we exploded in the house, right? Or we exploded while we were in the gym working out, or we exploded on the job and just was like, man, excuse my French, but fuck this shit. I'm done with this job. This is for the birds, right? And walked out. But if we would have been in our right mind, right, we would have been in balance, we wouldn't have walked out of that job. And so that's a lot of what I've seen. And when we tie into Chris Rock, And both of them, right? What we've seen on that stage is the side effects of this structural and this systemic system that has been set up that has both of them overweight, because the minstrel comedy that has taken place and on the backs of humiliating and shaming people, an industry has made money, right? Living brokenness amongst people. So I'm gonna pass to y'all, but we made money off of what we seen. There was money made off of that idiocracy that we see, and it's been and now we're like, what the heck? Well, what the heck is we made them monsters. We made them monsters.
So I just want to say two things. Number one, not one other individual on this planet is allowed to tell somebody when they have had enough of something. Until you walk a day in anybody else's shoes, you don't get to tell them when they've had enough of sustaining or having to sustain something. So also, another part of that is not only do you not get to tell somebody when they've had enough, but unfortunately, you don't get to tell them how to react when they've had enough. None of us are in a bucket where we can say we've always reacted in the proper way. And unfortunately, part of the reason why this is so shocking and so crazy for everyone is, for whatever reason, we put celebrities on a higher pedestal than we put our own educators in our children's schools. We put celebrities on a higher pedestal than we put pastors who are supposed to be out here leading flocks. We put celebrities on higher pedestals than we put our own mothers, grandmothers, So, you know, this is big news to some folk, but some of us just understand the concept of you don't get to tell somebody when they've had enough, and you don't get to tell them how to react.
Wait, hold on a second.
It's unfortunate.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
Who puts celebrities on a pedestal? I mean, it should be common knowledge.
Let's put it this way. What I mean when I say that, TC, is let's put it this way. You have a whole country beating up on a little country right now. You have a whole nother country bombing maternity wards.
Girl, you went there.
Hospitals in another country. Hospitals that are not near any military interest have no reason for any bombs to be dropping on that part of the country. You have Big Brother jacking up Little Brother, but yet Will Smith slapping Chris Rock was news for about 3 full hours. Now we're talking about the Oscars versus folks getting killed over in another country. So when I say people put celebrities on a pedestal, the world seems to be way more concerned about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock than they are Russia bombing maternity wards of hospitals.
And it's still trending, by the way. Go ahead, TT.
Now, two things. I can understand that. That I can understand on a simple fact that we have to acknowledge celebrities, American celebrities. I can't speak for the other world. American celebrities, it absolutely makes sense. America is not concerned normally with anybody else's business until it affects us directly, right? That's one thing. Two, celebrities on pedestals, I find, is only common amongst those who are what I call sheeple. So for those of us here in this chat room, I don't think we put celebrities on a pedestal. Now, I will say this, I can understand Will Smith being put on a pedestal, again, based on the content he was producing, you know, pre-20s of the, you know, pre-COVID. There was really inspirational and really, you know, something that you could latch onto and use that as, you know, almost like The Rock. The Rock was producing a lot of inspirational content, motivational, this and that. So you could kind of see them as a big brother or a beacon of hope, or, you know, whatever the case may be, a positive light. So almost like when, if I want to get nerdy real quick, there's in the comics, at one point, Superman goes really evil and wants to destroy the world and says humanity's not worth it anymore. You know, really shocking. And like, oh my God, I can't believe Superman doesn't want to save humanity anymore, right? So that makes sense. But at the end of the day, I guess I'm not surprised, because celebrities are, monkeys in a cage. Essentially, they are paid to be this distraction and create a false hope that any one of us can be these people if we sell our soul, or if we're pretty enough, or if we have that hit the lottery as far as a song or a beat, or whatever performance we provide that distracts the masses enough to weigh in and get a corporation of some kind to say, we'll back you, right? For us to then ride those coattails, never really producing any kind of value outside of distractions. Because if you think about it, nobody that does major motivation, no big preacher outside of TJ, what's that black preacher called with the bald head?
TJ.
Wow.
Thank you. So outside of that pastor getting famous, or the white pastor, what's the white pastor with the white smile? What's the pastor's name with the white smile?
TC.
Joel Osteen? Are you talking to Joel Osteen?
Joel Osteen. So those are two good examples of the rare time that you're actually preaching or providing value to the masses, and you're able to create a platform and $1 million instrument or arm or mechanism that is, allows them to be super successful, but also brings value to the world that's not numbing people or creating false hope. So.
Okay. Hold on. First of all, I gotta pick on you for a second. You mean to tell me you ain't know who T.D. Jakes was?
I'm not I know his name. I just didn't know at the time it went blank. I mean.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
I'm not in tune. You have to forgive me. I'm not in tune with these things.
But while y'all right there, I just want to add a little something that I've seen, because we talk about how America upholds celebrities. They uphold them and they worship them because they pay them. They don't pay teachers.
Hold on.
Teachers change.
Hold on. I said to my
listen. In the circle. I'm sorry. Go
I told my cousin earlier because my cousin came up from Florida, and she's visiting me now in Georgia, and I told her, I said, "Isn't it interesting that these people are so upset at Will and Chris Rock? Well, more so at Will." Chris Rock is seen as the hero. He's seen as the victim in this situation, right? But both of them are victims. And I said, isn't it interesting that people are upholding an entertainer more than we uphold our own president? I said when was it? I think it was a few years ago, where President Trump at the time said that he openly admitted that he sexually assaulted a woman. However, people chopped it up and said that it was locker room talk. Now, I felt as though that by looking at this, you got a man that said that people came back years later, Bill Cosby, and got thrown into prison because they said that, oh, well, he sexually assaulted me. Okay. And, then they said, oh, well, he did actually say that he actually did admit it and all of this other stuff. Having someone that I know personally that has gone through a system like that, I understand that sometimes you have to lie in order to lessen your charges. Because when you get to a situation like that, it's not about if you're right or wrong. It's about what makes sense. It's about what you can prove. And unfortunately, because it made sense for him to lie, I'm just going to say that, potentially that he lied, because the first time that he said, I didn't do anything, then he came back and said, oh yeah, I did do this. So I was just sitting there and I'm like, but why do we hold our entertainers at such a higher level than we hold our own people that are our presidents, that are supposed to serve our country and things like that? Like, why are we still talking about what's going on and what happened at the Oscars, but we're not talking about COVID-19. We're not talking about Dr. Fauci. We're not talking about what's happening in Ukraine. We're not talking about the fact that the United States gives more money to other countries than they actually do to their own. Anytime that something happens in another country, I'm just saying, because anytime that something happens in another country, honey, we are like, do you need us? Let me put the S on my chest. I am here. What do you need? Yes. But when it's your own country, we went through an entire pandemic and we're still going through it. There are still ramifications of what we're seeing from from the pandemic that has happened, and the United States hasn't done anything. I mean, they threw $1,200 at you, they threw $1,400 at you, they threw $600 at you, but these billion-dollar corporations got millions to offset their costs. Mm-hmm. But you mean to tell me that you couldn't, give these people $2,000, these taxpayers that are out here that are paying their taxes and doing that stuff, you can get them more money?
No, that's not how it works.
Oh, educate me, brother. Please tell me.
The system is designed to create the gap, the monetary gap. It's created to maintain that gap. They have to keep people down. When you understand how the system is designed, then it makes perfect sense that the people are given breadcrumbs. And in order to, say, replicate what the corporations are getting, we have to then create a corporation of ourselves, right? So, I mean, essentially, Miss Regina takes her platform that she's going out here and marching and advocating and creates a 501c3 that ends up being a national stampede that does a lot of good in every corner of America, North America, right? And then starts partnering with places in Canada to create opportunities for the African American or the people who are down and out, however that mechanism looks, so that she's able to then offset her costs because she's a bigger entity. She's a bigger 501c3. She's got people backing her. She's got politicians that are trying to, because she's such an influence on the African American vote or on the women vote or whatever. She built herself up in her 501c3 in a way that allows her to take advantage of such adversities or atrocities that happen. So it is up to us to modify ourselves or our careers to replicate what the rich are already doing. And if we don't, then that's our fault.
Hello, now you in my area of the woods. Yeah. But go ahead,
I'm loving as he's talking because he's laying out some things, and he brought up a factor that the system. Remember, when we go back to before the Beacon Revolt takes place within this country, people understood that everybody was here with space to grow. Everybody was here with opportunity. People understood. But after the Beacon Revolt takes place in this country, then that's when that division had to happen. And so then we get aligned within a system of the white supremacy body and then the black body, right? So the black body, you can tell of diverse backgrounds, but you know what that body is. You know that you can identify it when it walks into a place. And so what happens, and me and TT were on this a little bit last night, is white culture when we're talking about the Irish that they couldn't stand when they entered the country, the Jewish, when we're talking about our hold on. It's a couple other of the Caucasian populations that were fighting in this country to be represented or seen. At this point, when the Beacon Revolt takes place and they come back and they establish the laws and they put this on book, then what they do is separate by color because they held the position of the majority, right? And so what happened was those cultures that came here began to simulate themselves into the culture of the white body and teach them their children how to become figurative to the white bodies. So the system is about the level and the agent of the impacts of slavery within this nation. Everybody within the nation has been affected by a generational trauma being handed down through experiences, but some had the privilege to simulate and be connected to the white body and take coverage and hiding under the white body and not be able to be seen. So when we have this conversation and we talk about the structures that's been set up to cause the devastation, cause the limitations, cause frustration, and continue to keep a divide going on, some of the behaviors that we're seeing and some of the systems that we're seeing didn't just start right here today. They are the off-put or whatever, the inheritance. I don't want to inherit. I need to inherit some good stuff like that multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar business. I need to manifest and inherit lands, right? I want to inherit the lands. I need to inherit a body that just don't fall out of shape. It just loves the shape of looking good, right? I need to inherit a husband that just won't waver past me. He knows who I am. Yeah. So when we think about this, we have inherited some things that we would have never decided to pick up on, and we cling to them, and it's become culture for us, and it's become inherent within our bloodlines. And now we're seeing these struggles that we're dealing with. So y'all know, hold on, let me
go.
Okay, so when you talk about culture, so I'm going to shift for like a 30 seconds, okay? So when you talk about culture, what do you think about our culture now? Because, you know, we are in cancel culture. If somebody don't like you, they will cancel your so-and-so, okay? So what do you think about the governor of Florida, DeSantis, how he actually has now passed a law that says that if you cannot use the word gay, and you cannot ask for a person's gender identity in schools. What do y'all think about that? Because this has become like a new thing, because I had no idea. Baby, I'm old school. Okay, honey. All of this cis and cisgender and all of this new stuff, you know, I had no idea. Oh, I identify as them and they, and baby, I had no idea. So what do you guys think about all of this that's going on right now?
You know, I listened to a little bit more of it today, and the lady that was representing that bill made it kind of touched on what we were talking about in regards to age appropriation.
Okay.
From my understanding, she clarified that the bill is targeted towards K through third grade or something like that, and that it's geared towards age appropriate. It's supposed to be geared towards, you know, when it's necessary to have a conversation, and whether or not if it's a young person or, you know, middle school, you know, kind of like at the time frame that you talk about education is what she was saying is around the time that becomes a conversation, but that it was to bar that narrative of, say, a first grader comes into school, has two moms or has two dads, you know, and just creating that kind of confusion per se. It's I don't know what to think. I think it could have been dealt with better. I get why, like we talked before, it can be a slippery slope by making it okay. For instance, I don't know what college it is, but there's a college that is trying to enforce actual prosecution for mispresenting or mispronouncing somebody's pronouns.
Okay, I'm sorry, but you just got my blood boiling. So how is it confusing if a person has two daddies or two mamas? How is that confusing? Please educate me.
So the lady said that it would be confusing because then it's up to the teacher to try and deal with that explanation.
But why the hell is it up to the teacher? There are certain things that you need to learn at home.
I agree.
Why does it have to be an explanation at all? And an explanation to who?
Right. Like I said, this is what I heard.
That's what I want to ask her. What are you explaining? Why does there have to be an explanation? Because, you know, Mary has two moms.
And I guess it was like,
who would you need to explain that to?
I mean, I guess that was the example is why this bill
Okay. You know, TC, I thought these were your thoughts. Baby, the clause was out.
He said it was a lady.
Baby, I'm retracting the clause a little bit. Because I need the clause to come out, baby. I was like, hold on. You know, baby, let me take these earrings off real quick. Okay, like, hold on. I'm ready for you.
I mean, like, you guys know where I stand, which is, like, for me, I believe that this bill could have been dealt with better, right? Because how so? So barring the use of the word makes no sense, right?
It does not, absolutely.
Barring the forceful nature of what I'll just say the left agenda to force you to say, you have to say his, him, her, them, you know, we have to acknowledge somebody's identity beyond what's between their legs, that's where I have a problem. Or, because then it's, hey, we need to change all the restrooms, and then that's a forced mandate. And so now you're dealing with situations, and they brought this up in that conversation. Actually, they brought this up in Dr. Phil, that link that she showed us, where you've got male students that identify as female sexually harassing females in a gender-free bathroom, right? So it gets very dangerous when you go the other direction. So that's why I say this bill could have been dealt with better. I think they missed the mark, but I get why the execution was taken, given what's happening in the colleges that are very, very progressive.
So I don't agree with that, because honestly, I understand the reason behind the bill, but I do believe that there is a portion of, when it comes time to talk about sex and things like that, because hell, they've even taken out sex education in school. So sex education is not even something that's in school anymore.
Really?
So, yeah, it's not in school, at least not in the Dade County public schools. Let me make sure I specify that.
Where you're at?
It's in my daughter's. It is in my daughter's school.
Okay, so in Dade County public schools, in that middle school, they do not have sex education. It is not something that is talked about in schools anymore, and which I think is kind of stupid. But I also believe that there's a portion of, when you talk about anything that has to deal with gender, sexual orientation, and things like that, I do believe that those type of conversations should start at home. That way, when a child does get to school, there is no interpretation. I mean, let's face it, people have had 2 daddies and 2 mamas before it was even legal for them to technically even have 2 daddies and 2 mamas. That that's just dad's friend. Oh, that's just my friend. That's just mommy friend. You mean to tell me you done had the same roommate for 20 years? Baby. I'm just saying, but at the same time, I think that, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, to answer your initial question, I'm with you. I'm super old school. And why can't a person refer to themselves in a manner that makes them comfortable? You can't stop the use of the word gay. That doesn't even make sense to me. If that is the way someone chooses to categorize themselves, so be it. Now, I don't understand the whole he, she, they. Like, I'm super lost on all of that.
Girl, so am I.
So I've been sitting in meetings. I think originally, like when I stepped out of the correctional facility, before, when I went into restorative practice, and I get on this screen to do circle work, and like everybody got he, she, they, that, and I'm like, stepologist Regina Platt. Arthur Regina Platt. Like, I don't know what the rest of this is. And so somebody one time had labeled me, and I was like, I'm a little nervous about what all these mean. Like, explain this to me, because I guess I just don't spend so much time focused on that. I know who I am. And so when I don't feel like I have to, I fight about enough stuff, right? I lose energy about enough stuff. And I feel like that's a piece that I don't want to waste. I don't want to waste time having conversations on that piece. When I meet you, I approach you, I love you, I accept you where you are, but the whole conversation, like blocking kids and saying, first off, I know so many people in the LGBT community that use the word gay. So it's like,
exactly.
What is it? I mean, they talk mad trash to each other and be talking. So I'm like, so who about to be getting charges? Like, who getting the charge? Who getting this for this and that for this? Because where I'm at, I don't hear people just. I can't tell you last time I heard it, other than when we see something pop up on TV or something. I don't just hear that in common language, like we just go by. I work for YWCA USA. That is part of our mission, and so it's like I do want to
say really quick, for our viewers and people that are listening, we do see comments pop up. We are not ignoring you guys. if anybody can educate us on what this
Oh, please.
he, him, feel free to please give us a good understanding of what is going on. But I just want you guys to know that we do see your comments. They pop up, but they pop up quick. We don't have we don't get a chance to read it all, but we will. One of us, if not all of us, will go back to the comments and answer you. We see y'all and we love y'all. I don't want you to think, well, darn, I done commented 5 times and ain't nobody say nothing. That's not the case. That's not the case. They just pop up really quick. We see y'all.
My cousin Jay is on here and he ready to be. He like, what's up? When can I like call in and jump on the show? Like he ready to be a part of the movement. You know, and I just want to say he about to get married this month. He having an Easter wedding.
Congratulations, Jay.
We're gonna be at the park eating good, but no,
I just want $1 coffee from McDonald's.
No, we're going out to the lake.
I can't with you.
Rib steak and everything else. But let me say this part too, y'all. I want to say to y'all, we paid attention to and while all these things are coming up that are very detrimental, some of the attacks that we're having quickly, right? There are new formations of new videos, dance videos coming up. And that's why I still somewhat think the whole smack situation is fake, because it's a destructive distraction to rear us somewhere else, where our attention, we get locked into these other things. We went from talking about Ukraine now to then everybody just goes, oh, let's talk about this, right? But there's so many things, laws right now that are on the tables and legislators throughout the world, well, throughout the United States, and we ain't bringing them up, right? We ain't bringing them up and figuring them in. But we focused on this other stuff, and then you turn around and this law got passed, and this got passed, this amendment got passed. You go, how they passed that amendment? This August coming up, they got so much hot stuff that's going to be in that primary. Why would you put all the hotness in the primary? Because don't nobody show up for primaries. So I can get this primary, and then when general come, people want to show up. But in primary, they putting all the hot stuff on the table that you need to be in there voting on, because that's where your power at in this nation, especially when it comes to locally. People think about that are big elections, and they're on that so hard. They like, oh, I'm going to vote. Boy, I voted Biden and Harris in the office. And then the same thing, the school systems in their districts, in their states is losing money. Yep. Laws is being passed on women's voters' rights. Laws are being passed where children can't learn their history in the classroom. Laws are being, and I'm going, bro, they are tactful with these attacks.
They're not.
Well,
they're not.
Everybody don't pick up on it because they
are.
So my grandma said something, and I'm gonna let you go, Ebony. My grandma said something to me a long time ago. Grandma said, and my grandma old, okay, so she knows stuff, okay. Grandma, if you're watching this, you know I love you, but you're not old. I'm just saying. But anyway, my grandmother is old, and one of the things that she said was, if you ever want to hide something from somebody, do it right in front of their face, and they'll never know. So it's not even that they're being tactful. What they're doing is they're saying, hey, let's put it in your face because you're not going to pay attention to it.
Correct.
And I do believe that what you're saying is accurate, where it was almost like when they were talking about the coronavirus. The pandemic is still here. However, they pivoted and started talking about Ukraine. Now you don't hear about the coronavirus anymore. Fast forward, now they're talking about Ukraine. Okay, well, we need to distract you from Ukraine. Now let's do the slap with Will Smith. Okay, cool. And it's almost makes you think as if it were staged. Then now you got the slap that Will Smith did. Now you have other things that are starting to come about. Anything that is big news always will distract you because people become so emotionally involved in what's going on to the point where they don't pay attention to all of the other things that are happening. Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead, Ebony. I got you.
So I am so glad, Regina, you and Regina said this, because I have told people for years The presidency is not a one-man position. So what happens is it's a double-edged sword, right? Everybody's so proud that they voted for the president and vice president. The problem with that is and I do mean very few things the president acts alone in.
Come on.
Okay. He cannot just pass any and everything by himself. So he gets a bad rap for this, that, and another when you should be blaming Congress. Now, who puts the Congress folks in place? But everybody's out here so excited that they voted for the president and the vice president, but you paying higher taxes in your own community. That ain't got nothing to do with him. Where was you when the school board person was running? Where was you when it was time to vote for the mayor? Where was you? Local elections will always mean more than your vote for the president. And I have been saying that for years. Your state and local government is where you should be in line for. It is great that you voted for the president. It's great. Congratulations, you voted for the president. But you have no idea what's going on in your own state or local community because you don't show up for those elections. And those are the ones that will have a greater impact on you on a daily basis. Higher government is meant for generational change. Local and state government is a daily basis entity. That's all I'm going to say about that.
TC, you look like you was trying to say something.
Oh my God.
Snapping.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So I'm over here and I'm like, y'all, you got me over here and started praying because we having real talk. Having real talk because it's real stuff coming up. And it's coming up so fast. Look at the numbers of who's registered to vote and not registered to vote. Look at the numbers of who had higher numbers in death when it came to COVID. Look at the numbers of who lost the most income when it came to COVID. Look at the numbers of who is carrying the stress in the communities and not being supported as they're carrying. Look at the numbers of kids who are not even are making it to graduation and ready to tap out and commit suicide. Look at the numbers of teachers who are quitting right now within the district, are being underpaid, underserved, undersupported,
overworked.
Look at the numbers of in district. We are in a child care epidemic where I know in my city, we lost like 300 child care spots at the same time. That's a hit. Who was affected the most by that? Women. Why were women hit the most by that? Because they the ones that will stay home and sit with the kids. That's a hit on the family's income that is coming in.
So do you think that it's an attack on women?
I don't feel that it's an attack on women. I feel that it's an attack on the family. Because if I can hit her, then that's going to affect the children. If it affects the children, then that's going to affect the generations. And so those children that are impacted by what has happened, again, stay in a formation of a cycle of anger and isolation and confusion and displacency with low self-esteem, brokenness, and never the opportunity to heal until somebody reach down and be the rainbow in the cloud for them. But how many rainbows in the cloud are the children in the multitude having access to when the storm is happening? Because as we went through, there was more domestic violence cases that took place within COVID time. Why? Because they were being housed in and isolated in with each other. She didn't have the opportunity to call out because most of the places didn't have a way of supporting because resources were limited among nonprofits. So when we look at that in that gathering, it's strategic because it's not happening in all households at that point, at that level. Because some, baby, you can disagree, baby. I got you. You can disagree, but I know the numbers.
Well, do you think that the numbers are actually accurate? Because
I think there's more numbers. When we talk about accuracy in numbers, remember they can only account for the numbers that report in, that get the opportunity to report in. Some police departments wasn't even getting all the numbers in.
So the reason that I ask is because I know that talking about COVID, a lot of people, when they got the opportunity to like really like sit and like say, oh yeah, this person had COVID, that person had COVID. I had no idea that they were like the hospitals were actually getting kickbacks on people that passed and they coded it as COVID. I had no idea. Like I you guys know that I actually had my own bout with having to deal with losing someone very close to me with COVID. So looking at all of that, it's actually on the death certificate, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea. So I think that I think that the numbers, it always goes in favor of what's actually more beneficial for the system, for the people that are controlling the system.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. I can't hear you, Regina.
So I know myself going through 2020, my household just in general was impacted by over 25 deaths. That's not including the gun violence deaths, right? And so I didn't hear too much about some of those deaths that was happening. That's not including 2 suicides took place. So add those numbers up in the house where you raise a kid. Now, the other part I'll say and put out there is I had COVID twice. And those numbers, nobody hears about those numbers because remember, Regina got to get up and take care of her family. And so the COVID coverage lasted for so long. And now there's another variant that is out. And so for me, my fear, I said, hold on, I got to take a step back.
But how all these variants all of a sudden just popping up?
Thank you.
Because
here's the deal.
Because hold on, because they started saying that the Omicron, Omarion or Omicron, whatever it was, they said that was actually. I'm just saying, they said that Omarion, okay, popped up. I know it's Omicron, but I like Omarion better. So they said that Omarion popped up, and it was actually going to be the next wave of the coronavirus. How the hell do you know that? It's almost as if y'all are actually doing it, like y'all are creating it.
Hello.
Okay, so here's my problem. You do not.
Hold on, Ebony. Let me say this piece real fast. You can't get to COVID-19 unless there's been a COVID 1, 2, 3, 4, like all these different strands.
Preach.
They hit us on a COVID-19, so that means they may have been experimenting behind the door the whole time because
they were.
Back in like November of 2019, almost my whole job was out sick, and nobody knew, and the doctors couldn't tell them what they were sick with. Now, we step into 2020. I come back from, where was I? I went to Chicago and Alabama. Got back, and they was like, "Oh, everybody need to shut down." That March, they was like, "Shut it down." And I was like, "Shut it down."
So I'm not going to say too much because I don't know how far this is going to go, and I don't want this getting shut down. But I will say this. I'll say just a snippet.
We're not getting shut down, TC.
COVID-19 was a documentation of implementation for strategic planning or a pandemic. Within that pandemic was the virus coronavirus. COVID-19 is a code name for the documentation of the implementation of this. Lastly, I had knocked on the door of a microbiologist who happens to live in Raymore. At the time I was doing my wholesale TV business. And he explained to me he had a tattoo on his right arm that was two viruses. It looked like suns, right? One was the flu virus. The other was the COVID-19 coronavirus. Now, what was weird was these tattoos had aged. And when I was building my wholesale TV business was when I came back from my spiritual journey in 2020, right, at October. So that tattoo, I was like, hey, that's really cool. He's like, yeah, I've had it for 13 years. So this microbiologist had tattoos on his arm, 13 years, of a virus that had just hit the nation a year ago. This is to say, as he explained to me, that they had been working on these things for quite some time. And we had been exposed to these things, none of which were ever really effective. Bird flu, SARS, right? SARS is supposed to be one of the biggest ones. The breakout of the one that starts with the E, E. coli, Ebola, whichever one it is.
Ebola?
Ebola. Thank you. So there are different things that have hit us.
Don't take me there.
There are different things that have hit the nation, but never quite got to that point. Swine flu, right? There's different variants. Now, I'll say this and I'm done. Okay. We were able to come up with a vaccine quickly due to the fact that the solution for SARS, we were working on the SARS vaccine, but SARS went away so fast because everybody got hit with it and the bodies were able to adjust quickly versus coronavirus, which they made it more effective by isolating everybody, which means that the herd immunity could not take effect because now the virus has a chance to incubate within each individual and manifest in whatever way it does by separating everybody, right? I'm not going to go there. Anyways, so the point is that SARS, the solution for it or the vaccine for it, got put on hold and thrown into a little incubator or, ice chamber, if you will, which we brought that back, modified it to fit the narrative of its cousin, coronavirus. Last thing I'll say, what he explained to me is the proteins on the virus, a natural occurring virus that you find in the wild, will always have multiple styles of spikes, the protein spikes. They'll allow it to attach itself to multiple forms of life for its survival. A virus will never naturally occur to focus on one kind of species. This then allows us to at least admit and recognize that this was human organized or, genetically modified. So.
So we
all I was going. Okay, so real quick, all I was gonna say is this: people freak out every single time they hear of a virus mutating. Okay, let's stop right there. That's what they're designed to do.
Right.
They're designed to stick around as long as possible. They're going to mutate. Why do you think we have so many different forms of influenza? At this point, we're probably at influenza M. We didn't surpass A, B, C, D. But vaccines are only designed to try and vaccinate you against the current mutation. Right. They're not going to work against all strains. So, let's stop freaking out, not y'all, but folks in general, stop freaking out about the fact that a virus mutates. It's supposed to do that. It's designed to do that. But I agree. I totally agree with TC on this. I think I know Nigeria. There she is. I saw your comment, and you are correct. COVID has been around for years. The reason why COVID-19 is so scary is because, like TC was saying, COVID is in a family of SARS, COVID, Ebola, the swine flu, the bird flu. They're all in the same family of virus. So like she said, when you look on the back of a Lysol bottle, you will see COVID mentioned, but that is the greater family that encompasses all the other viruses, if that makes sense. So just what TC was saying, yes, COVID's been around forever, just not necessarily in the form of COVID-19. We've seen SARS and other viruses, but they're all under the same umbrella. That's it. Oh, real quick before I forget, Will Smith, I don't know if anybody knows this, but as of today, he has resigned from being a member of the Oscars, the Academy Awards. He has resigned. The Academy still has the ability to decide what they're going to do to him if they choose to do something to him individually, but he has resigned from being a member of the Academy Awards. Go ahead, Regina.
Well, I just want to say to you all that this has been a wonderful hour. We had talked about going for 45 minutes, but This hour has been
Y'all
very
got me heated as hell now because I want to dig into that, but I can't. Go ahead, Virginia.
we may have to pick up next time this
know.
hour
Ooh.
because I need y'all, everybody that taps in, the guests that you're going to invite, I need them to know that we value you all's time. We value you all's opinions. The box was hot. You all were putting love.
It
in this
was.
box, wisdom in this box. I would say to you as well, we are going to work on our technical side, right? Because we want to do this so bad for you all that we're going to do the work to make sure that we can offer you a great product of our time, right? Of this space. As well with that, we need you to put in a chat box and not to just say on the chat box, but on the page. We need you to release some of the things you want to talk about. Wendy, if you want to bring that up on next time we chop back into that on Will resigning, we gonna have this conversation. But drop it on the page. Invite your friends, invite your family, invite your co-workers, bring topics for us because we are ready to be the force that is reckoned with when it comes to the chat, baby. So keep tapping in and look forward to growing with us and look forward. Now, Jay, we may have to bring you in because, baby, you the ripper, baby. We may have to bring you
I
on
just want to say, I checked the comments and he brought up the current Supreme Court Justice nominee, and that would be an awesome thing to discuss. I'm ready for that conversation.
We could talk about that next. We could talk about that next week on the chat, honey. But before we go, so later in the season, we are going to give you all an opportunity to write into us, to inbox us, to ask questions that you would like for us to answer. So we will do a segment of that, which is called What's Tea? The name was actually given its name by Ebony. So we would love for you guys to tell us later in the season as the time progresses, for us to let us know exactly what it is that you want for us to talk about, like Regina said. But if there's something more personal, you can send us an email. Like if you got cheated on, child, and you want us to weigh in on it, if you should go back to him or her. We love those type of conversations, okay? Especially me, okay? Anyway, go ahead.
So we're saying sayonara. We'll give you a wave. You can wave back in your own space, in your own way. Take 2 deep breaths in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. See you all next
We love y'all. Thank you so much for being a part of the first podcast. We love you guys.
Much love. This has been amazing.
It has.
All right, let me shut it down.